How's it going, everybody? It is Spencer Ostrowski. I am your host of Our Geek Culture, and I am joined by, again, my best friend.
It's Kevin. We're up in this piece.
And we'll start off by doing a quick plugs real quick. You can always find, of course, Our Geek Culture right here, and Twitter pages at Our Geek Culture. If you guys are ever interested in sports, I also do another sports channel called Delivering Sports. You can find it here on YouTube or on Twitter at Delivering Sports. Kevin?
You can find me on Twitter at Kevin at Kevin OMO_. Don't forget that.
You all right?
It's been a long day, pal.
All right.
Especially now because we're about to talk about this goddamn bullshit.
So yeah, as the title suggests, I literally watched Game of Thrones only the last season. I did not watch a single episode. I haven't seen a single clip of anything before. I watched the first episode of the last season with Kevin. I kind of got the gist of everything.
Which makes me furious because you should have no fucking idea what's going on.
I didn't really understand people's storylines too much, but I can understand people if I point at them and say, "Oh, that's white hair lady," or that's names came like during the last episode. I was pretty decent, but at the same time, not really. I just kind of understood people by their faces and kind of the dynamics on some level.
It just made me mad because like if you had like started watching season 4 out of nowhere, you'd be like, "What the fuck is happening?" But you can just watch season 8 and be like, no, I can get the gist of this, because that means they've rendered every point before, the premiere of season 8. They rendered that basically irrelevant, and they were rendering shit irrelevant the entire season. Like stuff was happening during the season that was being rendered irrelevant, which is, I think that's like groundbreaking storytelling.
Right, like the guy with the Infinity Gauntlet, and then Jon Snow. It seemed kind of. I feel like their characters were kind of set in stone.
Lannister, dude,
but everyone kind of else thought like the story was going to go in a completely different direction. But I didn't really care about the guy with the golden hand. He was just kind of there. I know he kind of played an important part, but from when I saw it, I was like, I didn't really care about him.
So for context purposes, I have watched all the seasons of Game of Thrones. I like it a lot. It's like I wouldn't say it's like the best TV show ever. It very much isn't, especially not after this season. But it's good TV. It's been responsible for some of the best single hours of television in history.
I was entertained, I can say, with Game of Thrones. I wasn't enthralled with it. From what I understand, obviously people thought the last season of Game of Thrones wasn't up to par from the standard. I thought it was fine. Like I was like excited to like watch the episode as it came on just to kind of see what was gonna happen. I wasn't like, oh man, like I think this and this is gonna happen, but I was like, yeah, I want to watch it. I want to see what happens.
So I feel like we can agree on the sentiment of like the overall sentiment regarding the season is like that it was pretty ass.
Yeah.
Everyone can kind of like. I feel like everyone can agree on that.
I think I understood the gist of what people wanted to happen and why, like, and be like understand why people are upset of why it didn't. Not like deep down under, like have a deep understanding like about all these like deep stories about why things should have been this way. But I was like, okay, like you kind of explained it to me, like I kind of get it. I get why people like why didn't he do that, or like why didn't this happen?
Well, I don't really want to talk about the whole series, like the whole season at length. Obviously, like it can be encapsulated of like it was disappointing for a lot of people, but I want to talk like we're here to talk more specifically about the finale.
Well, okay, actually this what did happen in the finale. One thing I didn't like was Infinity Gauntlet guy, and then the dude who like was in charge of the boats when they were fighting that sword fight scene and they're like stabbing each other.
Greyjoy, yeah, that was the episode before. Yeah, that was the.
That was before
episode, yeah.
Oh, yes, it was. I hated that scene.
So Jaime Lannister and Euron Greyjoy, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that scene because first of all, he should have died when the dragon was exploding all the boats and he was on the boat. But then, so like you see the scene where like, okay, this guy and Infinity Gauntlet guy are fighting, and I'm like, okay, maybe this asshole's gonna win. Maybe that's the point of like that's kind of like from what I understood that was kind of the point of the show. Yeah, like it's not everything has to be so great all the time, Like I thought the point was that the show was dark and that people can die at any time. So I was like, okay, this guy's gonna die a shitty death. That sucks, but like, okay, that follows kind of like the story path that I kind of understand the show to be a part. And then he just wins, and it's like he got stabbed a lot, but then he just walks away, and the guy's like, I didn't see the guy like the boat guy's death as a satisfactory thing. Like I thought people could be satisfied with him like dying through fiery flames. Like I don't think there was a build up for him to die in this dramatic way, more dramatic than Queen Lady.
Oh, Daenerys, yeah.
No, not Daenerys, the other queen lady.
Oh, Cersei.
Yeah, like Cersei, from what I understand, the build-up for Cersei's death had been going for a long time, and like this boat guy got a bigger death scene than her.
Yeah, she kind of just had a.
She died from rocks. Like, aren't like satisfactory deaths on that show usually like big scenes and stuff like that? But she
usually like when someone gets like a definitive satisfactory death, they get like their fucking head cut off or something.
Yeah,
like that.
she like they didn't even show her like not even a rock going like hitting her head so hard that it just implodes. Like we just like got a kind of far away shot of them hugging each other. So I thought that's kind of lame.
When you consider like the entire like character arc and like the whole span of the show, it kind of there's like a lot of symbolism in that, like, oh, she's tried so, like, over the course of the show, like if you ever end up going back and watching it, she tries so hard at every point to like hold on to her power and like keep that what she cares about very close to her and very protected and sheltered, and to see it all like to have it end with all of that,
it came
quite literally
coming down on her.
Exactly.
I think that's pretty lame.
They kind of beat you over the head with the symbolism in this last episode, like with the dragon literally destroying the Iron Throne and that kind of shit. The dragon's
that scene was
wings.
Extremely underwhelming. I think I would say a lot of the things in the last like season, like maybe like okay, like there are possibilities that people could see, but there's so many like underwhelming moments. Like I thought Cersei's death was like super underwhelming. Like I mean,
just
I get it.
I thought the circumstances surrounding it were really shitty, just because I thought Jaime was. I really like. Jaime throughout the show goes on this very, very big, very convincing redemption arc. Never really, but he never really does confront the like his whole life with Cersei and the fact that like he's in love with his fucking twin sister and shit, and like. He spends all this time away from her and becoming a better person while he's away from her. And I thought the way it seemed is that like in that episode, like where he like smashes Brienne and then leaves, I really thought that I was like, oh, he's gonna go kill her, because like he's gonna go complete the arc, and he just like goes back to like grovel.
I'm okay with him bitching out. Like it's his sister, so I mean that's kind of the. I can get that part. Like, I
mean, yeah, I get that. But
his
like,
death wasn't unsatisfying to me. It was like how it happened. Like if he had died like on his way, like we had somehow known what he was going to do, and then he died like going down that way, and then she would have died like a separate way. I think that would have been a better way to go about it.
Well, like I feel like we just if you're gonna do that, like at least don't half-ass it. Don't let Jaime die with any kind of like innocence. Like. If that motherfucker is gonna go,
yeah,
like,
I think there actually would have been a justice of him like running towards her, towards the underground, and like a boulder falls on him, and like the audience would have been like, was he gonna go kill her or was he gonna go save her?
That would have been cool, actually.
That would have been pretty.
That
nice.
would have been actually pretty cool.
And then assassin lady could have killed Cersei.
It's just like I don't know, man.
That her like okay, I really actually that part actually bothered me too. She's like, all right, I'm gonna go kill this lady, and then
she just goes down there and then she doesn't fucking do it.
And then big guy's like, hey. Don't, and she's like, all right, and then and then the hour goes by and we watch her run away from the city.
I feel like that's where not watching the show betrays you a little bit, though, because they do have like a really strong like that. She kind of is like gets isolated earlier on in the show, and she kind of has to like look out for herself, and like the Hound, the big guy, is the only one who like really actually gives a genuine shit about her. So like it kind of makes sense, like. It's just funny, like the Hound like talk no jutsus her out of it though.
Like they use
like she's at the goal line. She's like, all right, let's go do this. You go kill your brother. I'm gonna go kill Cersei. And then the Hound's like, maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah, and the whole thing like they essentially use her as a narrative piece to describe like all the destruction that was going on in the city. We could have just seen it. Like we didn't need her to be a part of the thing, like running around the city.
I kind of got it. Like I've seen like destruction in this show before. I know what it looks like. I know like what happens when.
Yeah, I didn't think that we needed her to see people dying. Like it could have been anybody. Like it being her. I guess like the idea is that you feel like antsy. Like, oh, is she gonna die too in the city? But it went on for way too long, in my opinion. I wasn't a big fan.
There's so much in this last season of the show that just didn't matter at all. It's just like
the last episode barely mattered.
Exactly.
You could have given me. Like, I could have gotten the cliff notes from the last episode.
Other than that, like we'll get to that in a second. But it's just like there's so much stuff that like that is set up going in, and that it just ends up just it doesn't matter at all really. Like
well, yeah, the entire like whole last season was about Jon Snow being the rightful heir to the throne, and then just
and then just not being like then not that not mattering like at all.
Yeah,
in the actual end of everything.
Yeah, he kills her, and then you assume that he's like next in line, but then they arrest him. But
So yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Jon Snow killing his queen. Let's talk about Jon Snow killing Daenerys. No one was in there. Like no one was there.
I would have preferred. First of all, I would have preferred Jon Snow to bitch out and like go with Daenerys till the end, and like,
cool.
and then she would have like literally like gone over to take over the world. I think that would have been a much better ending, and one that like speaks to the like the nature of the show. That like,
Sure.
hey, not always the good things gonna happen. Like, we'll end the show like on a shit. No, like she's gonna take over the world like right now, and Jon Snow bitched out for it.
So like, I lost my train of thought. 1 second.
Yeah, I can keep going. We collect your thoughts. First of all, her death was very underwhelming too. He like softly shanks her, and she just collapses. She folds like a lawn chair essentially, and like,
okay, yeah.
I wasn't about that.
So like, no one was there either. It was literally just her and Jon, and Drogon the dragon takes her body afterwards. Who the fuck would know that Jon was the one who killed her? Like, he dismissed. So like, if I'm to be correct, this guy has to have had snitched on himself, saying like, "Oh, I killed Daenerys."
Yeah, but then shouldn't he have also been able
Yeah,
to
but
come
then
back and
he's
be like, hey,
immediately been like, "Yeah, it's all cool though. I'm Aegon Targaryen, the rightful king."
and multiple people know that answer too. Like, it can be the
There are
receipts
people there are at least 4 people in the country who can fucking vouch for that.
high up too, like not just random people. Like people who like have seats on this like high council who can be like, yep, that checks out. I got it.
And then they're just like, "No, just throw him in jail." What's happening?
What does that mean?
What is the
I
so?
didn't
What
get
was
it.
the point? I don't, like there was so much shit.
And then midget guy seems to like, shouldn't he have been the one to be like, yeah, dude, we talked about this when I was about to die. And we're
Your
like,
sister told me that, dude. I remember.
but not only that, but like when they had the discussion when like he's in this like jail cell or a pseudo jail cell, he's like, hey man, you should kill her and then do it, dude. Become the fucking king. And then he just doesn't like.
And then it just did not.
Midget
become
guy
the
just
king.
doesn't bring it up. Like even when he's talking in front of everyone, he's like, I don't like.
Especially okay, so when he's talking in front of everyone, it's under my impression that when that scene happens, when they bring Tyrion in front of this high table council, whatever the fuck it is, it's my impression that they are going to kill him.
Yeah, like immediately, just like right off the bat, this guy's gonna die. In like, I'm like, okay,
They're
that's
all
tragic.
just gonna
like that's tragic. That's a good way to end the show. Like you have a tragic death that like resonates with people to the end.
But no, it's just like so he just ends up talking his way into deciding the new king. Like, what kind of fucking like setup is that, man?
And then the whole premise behind like who should be king, I think is fucking stupid too, because he's like, who has great stories? You know who has a great story? Jon Snow, the guy who died and then came back to life.
You know who died and then kind of united the free folk and kind of just united the like rest of the world against the zombies, except for Cersei, who ended up dying anyway. Like
that guy's got some stories.
guy's got that. He's been through some shit, man. And it's just like the way, like nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't like I don't understand why things happen the way they happen, and it's just like I can see I'm not like blindly hating on it because I can respect the vision. I think there's like I've told this to many people like after the fact. I think that there's an alternate universe where this last season of Thrones airs, and like everything plays out the exact same way. And everyone is kind of on board with it and kind of just like, oh, I fuck with this. And the season is just 10 episodes instead of 6. I think that's the simple change that could like make on this entire season. Just you having the time to explain shit. Nothing gets explained.
I have a slight problem with that idea. There was a lot of wasted time in the last season in any case. So like extending it 4 episodes, like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It could become not wasted time. It could actually become important time.
You'd have to give me some receipts on that one. I would have to like, the last episode, nothing happens. Like, what you need to know is that she fucking dies, and then the fucking.
Well, the last episode was like
the wheelchair kid becomes king.
The last
That's
episode
what you
was
need to
kind
know
of
about
bad
the
in a
last.
vacuum. But I feel like if we like had a few episodes in that last season, or like time in extra episodes to kind of understand what the deal is with Bran, I feel like everyone's a lot more comfortable with him being on the like being king at the end.
I guess. I mean, he was kind of. I get the whole idea. I guess behind like he's like the kid who's like, oh, he's seen it all, literally into the future. But I hate that. Okay, first of all, let me tell you 2 scenes that particularly bother me.
In current form, it doesn't make any sense.
2 things really bother me. When the dude sits up and talks about democracy, it falls flat so hard. I wanted to turn the
It
show
was
off.
fucking weird, dude.
It
Just
didn't.
because it's like it felt like they were like leaving room, like they were like purposefully like, oh, we're gonna have like 2 seconds of quiet just so everyone can get their giggles out. And I'm like, it wasn't even that fucking funny, man. Like
I thought there
it
was
wasn't funny at all, actually.
and I almost half expected it like a title screen to start popping up like that was the end of the show and be like, and then America was born on that day. Like, you know, like something stupid like that. And I was like, please, can we move on? Like, we don't need to talk about the United States in a show about dragons and shit.
Really
Like,
funny
what's
if,
going on?
It would have been really funny if after that, like, or when he says that and they start laughing, it's the Curb Your Enthusiasm ending. They start playing the music, and then like once that like trumpet hits and it just cuts to black and start rolling the credits.
Yeah, or they all stand up and like take a bow and stuff like that, and all the cast just comes out from the left and right of the show, like everyone who's ever died, and they like start like waving at the crowd, and it just like slowly
like
pans
it's
out.
like the end of a Saturday Night Live episode.
Yeah, or something stupid like that. I could definitely see that happening.
See, like I like theorized, like I thought it would just been hilarious if like we just running through, like I was just talking to people running through, like if this ended like various HBO shows ended. So if it's just like at the very end of it, someone yells "cut" and it's like Vinny Chase from Entourage, and they're just like it's Ari Gold screaming at you for being a fucking suit and something like that. It would have been. I thought that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, and so I don't know. And then the whole last part of the episode, after like this big decision where Bran is like king, they don't show him doing any king things. What they end up talking about is the economics of like water.
The
stuff.
last half hour of this show, like the last half hour of Game of Thrones ever, was so fucking boring, dude.
Painful.
I almost fell asleep, man.
And then I was so like, I did not care that assassin lady was like, I'm gonna go exploring. Like, all right, Christopher Columbus. Like, why should I care? Like,
Why were you even like if that was the end game for Arya Stark, why was she even in the last few episodes? Like
she's never even.
she didn't do shit.
Yeah, she actually. I think it would have been more interesting if she's like, I'm done with all these wars. I'm going to literally leave this country right now and
It's
just go
like-
exploring.
no, but it's like you can't like kill the Night King and then no longer be an important character.
No, yeah, she
Like,
didn't do anything from the rest of the
she
show
ended
onwards.
the greatest war. She ended the long night. Like
The war of all wars.
That's literally what they called it. She ended it single-handedly by herself. She did that shit, and like she doesn't do anything important for the rest of the
Except
fucking show.
run. I thought ultimately she was going to be the one to kill Dragon Lady.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, so
'Cause I thought
'cause
she was gonna kill Jon.
because
Yeah.
that would have made the whole city seem so much more significant. She's like, she saw firsthand the destruction. She's like, okay, I kill people, I'm good at it. This was not cool, so I should do something about it. So I thought she was gonna sneak up on the stairs, stab her like through her face, like in front of everybody, and then Jon Snow would be like, I'm king now, or like something. You know, it's obviously stupid.
It's like something definitive though, man.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I just feel so
time,
unfulfilled.
Yeah, the time cut between like after Jon Snow like has like kills like the queen, like I'm like, oh man, we're gonna like I didn't expect a time cut. First of all, I expected like some crazy shit to happen. Like
a lot of nerfs thrown in a time
he
jump.
rides the dragon into the city, does 360 no scopes. Like who knows? Like Jon Snow's like, I'm the fucking king now, but like no, it's just like, all right,
I'm thinking I'm back.
we don't even find out what happens to Jon Snow until like midway through this conversation with Midget Guy and all these people. And I'm like, shouldn't Jon Snow be there right now? And they mention it, but they're like, oh, not really. I'm like, what's going on right now?
And then they just like they sentenced him to the Night's Watch, which is like,
I get it.
what
I mean,
the fuck? No, I don't get it because like the Night's Watch. This is something you would know if like you watch the beginning of the show. The Night's Watch is like, it's like a fucking like, it's something you can do instead of going to prison, and you just watch the wall. You protect the wall. That's what they are. The Night's Watchers is just they are the watchers on the wall. There's nothing to fucking watch on the wall anymore.
well, I
man.
guess the whole idea is like to please all the. I guess they're saying like, oh, the people won't really understand why he killed the queen or whatever, so like we have to like make some sort of agreement.
The people won't understand. What do you mean the people won't understand? Everyone knows she had to die, man. She was killing everyone in King's Landing.
I don't know, man. That's how they described it. They were saying like, oh, like we have to like make some sort of peace between all the nations. So like this is the best way before like so he doesn't get killed or like we don't have to execute him.
That makes sense, but it's like, okay, it's they do it in an attempt to make peace with the Dothraki and the Unsullied, the Daenerys' army, but they end up leaving anyway. They just leave.
To somewhere.
They just go away.
They're gone.
So it's like the only guys who really gave a shit about Jon Snow killing Daenerys are gone now. What do
I don't know. First of all, I didn't know why he was taking them anywhere. Where were they going?
Like they were just like they really didn't have any business there.
Going-
Like if Daenerys wasn't going to be there, they really didn't have any like
So
It's
they're
like, why the
going
fuck
to
are
the
we here?
mainland, I guess.
They just kind of went back to where like the Dothraki are from fucking somewhere.
So the
that I don't
Dothraki are the
remember.
wall people,
No, the Dothraki are like the horse people.
the one that Jon Snow was with.
No.
Where was Jon Snow taking those people?
At the very end of the show?
Right.
Okay, those are the free folk. Those are the people beyond the wall.
Yeah, but where were they going?
They were just going beyond the wall.
Going.
That's where they
beyond.
live. That's essentially like where they live.
So they weren't allowed to live within the wall, but now they're going beyond the wall.
Yeah, so like the Night's Watch and the people beyond the wall, they call them the free folk or something like that, or like the wildlings. They were like at war with each other. The Night's Watch and the wildlings.
There was like 5 of them. What war could there possibly
Exactly.
be?
They were dead. That's how many of them died. And a lot of them died because of the goddamn zombies that.
It would have
ended
been
up-
much more satisfying if, because you kind of told me about it, like Jon Snow like knew some lady from the Free Folk. If she would have like lived, and then he could have like been
No,
with
that's
her
what I'm
at the
saying.
end.
So like Jon Snow, like that's part of why this like was written very fucking stupidly too. Like Jon Snow, like there's this like big battle between the Free Folk and the Night's Watch in like season 6 or some shit, or season 4 or something, and at the end of it, it ends up basically just like Jon Snow ends up making friends with the Free Folk. The Night's Watch and the Free Folk are friends. So that is one threat beyond the wall that is no longer relevant, right? It's like, oh, we can't go beyond the wall. There's zombies and then there's savage people up there. No longer savage. They're the homies now, right? So now it's like this lady that Jon Snow was crushing on fucking dies in this battle because he like kind of just refused to go live among the wall with her. And he just at the end of the show goes to live among the wall anyway.
Yeah, it would have been a much more like I didn't really care that he went with the Free Folk. I thought it was like a cool, like he was like, oh, I'm kind of king now because I kind of control
He's
these
king
5
beyond the
people.
wall, yes. But
Like,
like no,
okay,
because
that's
now,
cool,
but
but-
now it's just like, why sentence him to the Night's Watch if the Free Folk are the homies, and there are no more zombies? That's kind of just like, hey,
I guess it was just like their version of saying like it was a cop out way of not having to execute him.
Yes, dude.
But it didn't. I didn't feel satisfying. I don't know.
It's just the way, like, the thing that bogged this whole season down was just the writing. It just doesn't. There's
Nothing
like,
sticks. I
what
guess.
I've always like liked about Game of Thrones is that like there's this one main narrative that they stick to that's kind of like the primary narrative, and then things branch off like at some point, but by the end of the primary narrative they have woven back in and are like ultimately boost the primary narrative because of it. I feel like with this season it started like back in like halfway through season 7. You started to branch those off, and then by season 8, instead of just fucking like weaving them back in, you just cut them off. And then you leave the primary narrative to just kind of exist on its own. And I think that's why like so much shit like they pose so many questions and then answer like none of them.
I don't think. First of all, also
Because they like, I'm sorry, hold on one second. Like they make you to believe that a lot of this stuff is important, that you're gonna have to like care about this shit at some point, and then they like either never address it or they kind of like close the chapter on it in a really like unfulfilling way.
Also, I feel like none of the storylines were dark enough to kind of go along with the whole theme of the show. Like, I felt like they kind of like tried to make some sort of like satisfactory ending for everybody, and I think the show is supposed to be like
It's just not how the show is, man. Like these people, like
it's not supposed to be satisfactory.
the show legitimately killed the main character in the first season. In the season finale of the first season, like the main character dies. Like half of the fucking characters in this show get happy endings by the end of it.
Yeah, I don't like that. Someone should be sad. I don't think anyone was sad at the end of this.
And
except
it's
for
just it's not saying it for the sake of just being like,
Oh,
like
let's just
I
make it-
wanted people to die. I don't want people to die erroneously. I just want it to make sense. Like there's no reason for Arya not to die.
let there be a tragedy. Like, come on.
What I'm saying, like,
Of some
yeah,
sort.
exactly. But it's like there's no reason for Arya to have this happy ending where she sails off and does
Yeah,
shit that like
'cause it
doesn't have
doesn't-
nothing to do with her
Because
character.
it wasn't meaningful. Like, I didn't like, all right, go, gal. Like,
That's what I'm saying.
you
It would
go
have been like more satisfying and fulfilling if she had died in some way.
some like valiant way or something like that.
I don't know, man. It's just I will always have those first 6 seasons that are really, really good, and I think I'll always be appreciative of Thrones for that. But just like as far as people saying, "Oh, the show's ruined now," the whole legacy of the show's ruined, I don't believe that, because I still look very fondly on the episodes that I like so much.
I pose a very important question to you, maybe
What's
to end
that?
this, and maybe to end this episode.
To pass it on to the audience as well.
I guess so. Was the ending of this show more disappointing or less disappointing than Death Note? That's an important question.
Every time I talk about Death Note, I say it's my favorite. It might be my favorite 25 episodes of television, and I say it's really sad because there's like 36 episodes of Death Note.
I can make some sort of like analogy between the two. Like the beginning of the show is so good, and people like love, like legitimately, like people are like, that's one of the best animes ever made. But the endings like are so unsatisfying.
It's not the ending; it's just what happens after a certain character dies.
I think the ending's pretty disappointing as well.
I like I feel like the ending is fitting, where he just, he dies, and that's you kind of.
Yeah, I guess, but
because it's like he relies on. Okay, so we're gonna span off into a Death Note tangent right here, but Ryuk is kind of like throughout the show kind of grows like more personable to Light, and I feel like. At some points in the show, like Ryuk and Light consider each other friends, but at just the very end, it's just like Light, like Ryuk is just like, you knew what this was when you signed up, Playboy. You're out of here. I'm taking you, and you're
I just
done.
hated like Yagami's character in the last 12 episodes. I just feel like he wasn't like the same person.
Like, it was a big morph.
I get being like drunk with power, but like he's still like the smartest character in the show. Like he's just gonna go insane. Like
the show had if the show had simply ended. In that like 25th or like whatever episode it was where that one thing happens, I won't spoil it. I won't spoil that. Well, I guess I already have spoiled. When L dies,
that's when the show ends.
I feel like if that was the
ending of the show, if they rolled credits,
never
ever again, we could have made our own stories about what he did afterwards. Would have been a great show. We'd have like topped it as
I think it would have been great.
In any case, I don't want to ramble on forever about Death Note. We can make our own
Go watch
episode about
Death Note. It's really, really good.
Go watch the first 24 episodes and tell us what you think.
Then just skip to the end.
Yeah, if you guys have any thoughts about Game of Thrones or I guess Death Note too, now that we're down there, like tell us which one you thought was more disappointing at the end. And thanks for
Dexter was also a really disappointing ending.
I stopped watching Dexter once I learned people hated the ending of the show.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you what the ending was?
Yeah, it's really stupid.
Yeah, exactly. So it's up there with Dexter as well.
So yeah, let us know. Actually, just let us know what your most disappointing like ending to a show that you loved was, and we'll kind of talk about it below. Maybe we make a top 5 most disappointing like endings to shows that we loved, and we'll kind of get your guys' opinion on that as well.
Thanks for tuning in, Chiefs.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Let us know what you guys think below. Any other content you guys want us to push out, we're always willing to adapt our schedules to you guys. So thank you very much.
See you guys next time.